about them Irish?
I can't take it anymore. I need a national championship.
This is the Four Horsemen Podcast.
How about that right in? I guess that's why they call it Sin City. We're back for another week of the Four Horsemen Podcast. It's your host, P-Wagon, joined by Steve. Steve who had 2 weddings in 3 days, so he is playing with his Jordan flu game right now. And Dylan will not be making an appearance tonight. He is probably drunk in Ireland, as he was this weekend. So before we get into everything, Steve, how are you?
I'm crawling to the finish line here, amigo.
What a perfect way to start a podcast. From a game in Vegas, we have one guy who is chipper as ever, and the other who is hungover. It's the dichotomy of a flight to or from Vegas.
Yeah. Just weddings are great, but there reaches a point where there's just too many. And I just completed my 7th and 8th weddings of the year this past weekend. And my 9th and final wedding of the year will be Clemson weekend, November 5th. So I have a month left, and then I'm just shutting it down. I'm just going full hibernation mode, and I never want to leave my house ever again.
I have one in Houston in December. Doesn't matter for Notre Dame. They won't be playing that weekend. I think it's like conference championship weekend. But yeah, one more for me. That'll be 8 on the year. All not close either.
Oh, God. Why did we do this to ourselves?
So if anyone's getting married, make sure it's not a destination wedding. We are, I would say we're an anti-destination wedding podcast.
I got married in a destination.
One half of this podcast is anti-destination wedding. Fair enough. You got
All
married
right.
in Tampa, didn't you?
I'm sorry?
Didn't you get married in Tampa?
No, I got married in Maine.
That's not a destination. It's a day trip.
Coastal Maine. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. It was, a 2-hour drive for me, 4-hour drive for most of my friends and family.
Yeah, that's a day trip. I'm talking about like Key Largo.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I don't know. It depends, because like I have a wedding in 2024 in France, and like that.
No.
Yeah, but it's not in Paris, so like that could be cool. It's gonna be in the countryside. Like, I don't want to go to Paris. Paris sucks.
That's fair. So anyway, that is Life Talk with P-Wagon and Steve. We just start the clock. I'm annoyed, and I really just want to get this out. It has nothing to do with Notre Dame football, but I just need to talk about it. Hike. I'm from New York, and where I'm from in New York, you can get a deli or a diner. You throw a stone, you're going to hit 4 of them. I live somewhere now in New England where I can't find a deli to save my life. I went to Jersey Mike's tonight, and yeah, they have online ordering, and yeah, it's a sub above. It's a good sandwich, but they're so incompetent in there. This podcast was supposed to start at 7 p.m. I went there at 6:30 to pick up my sandwiches. They weren't ready. I said, when may they be ready? The online site says 6:32. He said, oh, we don't know. I said, what? You're just not going to make my sandwiches for a little bit? You're just going to leave it out in the ether and guess when you're going to get them done? It would never happen at a deli. I don't have a good deli around here. There's one across the river that I can go to, but it's not open when I need dinner. And I'm just flustered right now. I had a good sandwich, but it just, there's no sense of time. There's no sense of accountability. They have no clock management at this specific Jersey Mike's, and I'm flustered.
You should write a strongly worded letter to corporate and let them know about your experience. Like my experience with Ship Sticks a couple of months ago.
I'm going to have to talk to Jersey Mike. Get him on the horn.
Yeah.
But no. If you live in New England, find a deli. If you want to make $1 billion, open up a New York style deli in New England, and you'll be a billionaire for life.
I would love $1 billion, personally, because I have not $1 billion.
Deli. That's all I'm looking for. Just a competent deli.
I have some solid delis by me up in the North Shore of Massachusetts. Something worth noting. But what I don't have is $1 billion. I have the utter and complete opposite of $1 billion. That would be very nice to have that, though. So as for my rant, if you are on the highway and you are traveling in the left lane and you are going, let's say the speed limit is 60 miles an hour and you're going 65 miles an hour, but the people in the right two lanes are also going 65 miles an hour and you're not passing them, and there's people behind you that extremely, obviously, very clearly would like to go faster than 65 miles an hour, you could just move over to the fucking right lane. You could just do it, right? Because the person behind you might have just had 2 weddings in 3 days and is a shell of a human being, and all they would like to do is drive just a little bit faster to get home so they can crawl into bed and die for the next week and a half. So if you're in the left lane and you're not passing someone, get the fuck out of the way. Finn.
I agree. I have one more thing. I have nothing to add to that discourse because I'm a right lane driver. I notoriously am not a good driver. So we're quite the opposite humans there. I don't understand, and this is a lot on social media right now, when people will say, come in, fill in the blank, usually username, W, or L plus ratio. I just don't get it. I think the internet's passed me by, Steve.
Yeah, none of that makes any sense to me. So I would just be an old man yelling at a cloud if I tried to understand it.
I don't get it. The internet's passed me by. We run a moderately successful Twitter account, and there's just so many arguments on there that I read, and I'm like, I don't understand what people are saying. I'm just gonna let it go. So that's
it. That's the only thing you can do is just like let the things just pass you by and just move on and hold on to the things that really count.
Can I say one more thing before we get into actual football topics?
While we're on it, might as well.
Notre Dame fans, not all, not the majority. There's a very vocal minority here. They're very mean to every opponent fan base that we have. Like, there was a BYU fan that complained that there was no signage of BYU at the game, the Vegas game. That made sense. Hey, it was a Shamrock Series. It's the Notre Dame game. You would have thought that he insulted the Our Lady of Victory. You would think he would have insulted the entire Golden Dome. He peed on the grotto. Like, you would think that he did that the way these fans were reacting to him. Like, it's not hard to be nice and have polite discourse on the internet, but there's just so many people out there, not a ton, but the vocal ones, they're just so rude, and it makes the wider majority of the fan base look bad as a whole. So that's all.
My friend, you might have just actually inadvertently described American politics, so that's a good one.
Oh, right. Anyway,
so you're saying that human beings are assholes, and the very small minority will make everybody look bad all at once? Gee, if only that didn't apply to every single scenario, whether it be football, politics, or everything else in between.
We are on 9 minutes of just rants right now. This is more of a therapy session than it is a podcast.
This is actually an existential breakdown for me. So at least everyone gets to listen to it in real time.
Oh, that's fun. I have another thing that I'm mad about, but it's football related this time.
Okay, final one, and then we gotta go.
No, this is one of our topics today. The Ray Guy Award.
Okay, this I can get behind. Continue, sir.
The Ray Guy Award may actually be my mortal enemy right now. The Ray Guy Award, for those of you who don't know, is presented to the top college punter of the year by Justice Sports. So Justice Sports Council is the ones who presumably run their Twitter account. They list the following criteria for selection: net average, the percentage of total punts inside the 20-yard line, and the percentage of punts that are not returned. John Sott, ever heard of him? He ranks number 6 in the net average, and he's first in punts inside the 20 and not returned. So sits 1-1. There's the top 20. I averaged this out today. He's 42.8 sits average. 54.55% of his punts are inside the 20. 72.73 of them are not returned. 6 of them returned for 62 yards. One was that big one against BYU. The other ones were all single digits. He only had one return over 10 yards. He's not on the list. Him, Mark Vassett from Louisville, and Clayton Stewart from Wyoming aren't on the list. Mark Vassett and Clayton Stewart can take a hike. The Ray Guy Award is doing a disservice to Ray Guy if they do not put him on the list.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's just, once again, John Sott to hype up the homies and to now officially go full bore on what is now a crusade for the Four Horsemen podcast. When he's backed into his own, territory deep, he just quite simply punts the ball out of the stadium, and then it lands finally all the way back in like the red zone on the other side of the field somehow. So he just launches like a nuclear missile. And then when he's at midfield and the drive stalls out, but it just doesn't make sense to go on 4th down, instead of hitting a nuke, he just hits a pinpoint precision, drone strike, just like, just coffin corners it or drops it just absolutely flawlessly, inside the 20, and it's not returnable and it has plenty of hang time. He's just the epitome of a fantastic punter that is single-handedly dominating the field position game for the Irish, helping to set them up for wins. So if that's not like an MVP caliber punter for the Ray Guy Award, then just throw out the award, because like the stats are there, but even if you just use your eyeballs, the kid just has it. So something fucky is going on.
I don't want this to be a weird, we're in love with John Sott. We are. But if we can see this, and, we didn't really get into Ray Guy Award watch until this year, despite my best efforts last year, I don't know what's happening. I'm trying literally everything that I can to drum up something from them. Ray Guy, you're not going to listen to this. The Ray Guy Award, Justice Sports, whoever I need to talk to, tell me who I'm emailing. I will email and I will present my case, because it's an injustice if he doesn't make the list. They just released the Rays 8 for this week's games. Mind you, he had 1 tackle. He had 2 punts the entire game. Didn't make the list again. Do we need to have a game where he punts 17 times? Like, what do we need to do as a fan base to get him on some type of list?
We're just going to continue to bang the drum, and eventually if we make enough noise, then they're going to have to listen to us, because the kid is too talented not to get the recognition he deserves.
100%. Just get him on the list, and then we'll figure it out from there. So,
agreed.
Now we're on to BYU. What to say about the Shamrock series? What to say?
10-0 or 11-0 all time. 11-0.
I thought the product, the field itself, very cool. I would have preferred it to be played on grass, but that's just me. And I think we have a lot to talk about the game. The product on television was very cool to see. It was the loudest game I've ever listened to as a fan. I think that's because of the stadium is designed to be louder. But what were your thoughts about the game itself before we get into numbers and all that?
Yeah, it was exceptionally loud, and I think that's definitely designed, because it came in somewhere in the neighborhood of about 63,000 fans, somewhere like that. And from the responses that we've got on Twitter from our loyal fans, is, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 80-20 Notre Dame, 85-15, something like that. So you're talking maybe, let's call it 55,000, 50,000 Notre Dame fans, where normally we have 88,000, somewhere in that neighborhood at Notre Dame Stadium. So, obviously it being an enclosed stadium is going to help amplify it. But yeah, it was very loud. And, on those big plays, on that JT Moss touchdown, on Mayer's touchdowns, like the place was exploding. So it was very loud, and it was great. And I think this is, again, this is an opportunity to raise the recruiting profile. And, you're looking at this on national television, Sin City, under the lights, unbelievable stadium in prime time. Not prime time, because that was that was a 7:30 game. Yes, that's prime time. Like, that's, these Marcus Freeman said it himself. This is why you come to Notre Dame, is to play in games like this. And yeah, I mean, okay, it was number 14 overall BYU, but we have the hardest schedule in college football. So if people think that us beating BYU is like a diss, I don't know. It's probably because you are on the West Coast and maybe watch 2 football games per year, but claim to be a diehard fan of a dog shit program in a dying city. But that's just me.
Are you calling out USC right there?
Nothing gets by you, I'll tell you.
Yeah, and you come to Notre Dame to play BYU. You're mid. First of all, I don't know what mid means. Second of all, sell a fucking game out, you idiots. I'm sorry for swearing, Mom. They couldn't sell out a game against Rice, and they're supposed to be this up-and-coming team with Lincoln Riley. No. You're the same old USC. You have a 7-on-7 offense, but you don't have a defense. You don't have a run game, and you don't have a run defense. So when Notre Dame puts 50 up on you, sorry, not sorry.
Facts.
So let's get into the game. Michael Mayer. There you go. There's the game recap right there. Michael Mayer in the offensive line. 34 rushing yards, 5.2 yards per carry, no sacks on the quarterback. Drew Pyne looking better each week. Drew Pyne being a little bit of a magician. And like you said before, Jaden Thomas. Hello.
Welcome to the JT train.
To talk about the good, you also have to talk about the bad before we get to the good. They gave up big plays to Cody Epps, Christopher Brooks. They failed a 4th down conversion. They failed a 2-point conversion. Pyne threw an interception. It may have been tipped. They allowed 5.5 yards per carry, and that 3rd and 18. That was all bad. But the bad does not outweigh the good. The 4th down stop, Tariq Bracy's first Notre Dame interception of the year, Prince Colley getting a sack, John Sott, 2 punts and a tackle, Blake Rupe, perfect on the day. Overall, we did a very good job. Michael Mayer had 11 receptions for 118 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. And Jason Adamilola and NOM, Nana Sofa-Mensah, 4 tackles and that game-sealing 4th down stop. And we even had a safety. When's the last time you've seen a Notre Dame safety?
I feel like we're good for maybe one a year, but or maybe one every 2 or 3 years. So it's pretty rare. And yeah, it's definitely less than 1 per season.
Oh, those are just the things that happened during the game. Drew Pyne looked very good out there. Do you have any stats that we should talk about here?
The 94.4 QBR from Drew Pyne. Now, 94.4, people might think that that's a passer rating. No, QBR is on a scale from 1 to 100. So the fact that he's coming in at a 94.4 QBR, Drew Pyne is balling out. Drew Pyne is stepping up to what he always billed himself to be, and he's filling the shoes of a winner, of a scrappy underdog. And it's making me fall in love with him. 5'10", 200 pounds out of Connecticut. He's on the shorter side, obviously. He's not a freak athlete like some of the other, dual threat QBs that have come out of college football in the last couple of years, or even just pure pocket passers. But he just finds a way to get it done. He sat back in that pocket several times. He was bouncing up and down, just, the offensive line giving him the time. Thank God the offensive line, I mean, give them all of the accolades and pats on the back that they deserve. They kept him clean, and he didn't, even when he was sitting in the pocket for like 2-3 seconds, he kept his eyes downfield. He looked and saw what was going through, went through his reads. On 2 different plays, he was in the pocket for over 4 seconds when he found JT on that big crossing route, and then also he had a big third down to obviously Michael Mayer, who was the machine all day. So, but staying in the pocket, looking downfield, and then when he had to scramble, the one scramble of the day on 3rd down and 4, he gets 5 yards. When he would have probably got caught up right at the line, right at the 1st down marker, he contorts his body and is able to make an athletic football move to get that extra yard, keep the drive alive, and keep the Irish in the game. So, I mean, Drew Pyne deserves a lot of love because he's really coming into his own. So, yeah, I mean, I love Tyler Buckner, but at this point, you got to say we are officially a 2 QB program. And, one's injured and one is taking the reins and really moving forward. And it's, next year, next spring and summer, it's going to turn into a heated battle in camp. But I think this is a net positive because this is truly going to be iron sharpens iron competition, bringing the cream to the crop, a cream of the crop to the top, whatever the hell you want to say, whatever sayings there are out there. It's just been a very pleasant thing to see. And, Tom Rees, who's also the QB coach on top of the OC, he got a lot of heat earlier in the year. Also a pat on the back for Tom Rees because he's setting up his quarterback for success. So there's a lot of things working and clicking right now at all the right moments, and this is a hot Notre Dame football team.
The funny thing you said there is he was a scrappy underdog from Connecticut. He's from New Canaan, Connecticut, where not many people are referred to as.
I mean, he's extremely wealthy. Yes, I get that. I'm talking in the pure athleticism sense.
No, I know, but also, just to talk about that point, he was like the number 6 most sought after quarterback when he was in 8th grade. Like he wasn't he's not the traditional Ian Book 3-star prospect. Like if you look at Drew Pyne on his 24/7 and you look at where he got offers from, overall, let me throw some numbers at you. And Dylan's going to drop when he hears me start reading these numbers. He was a .9164 4-star prospect from 24/7, ranked 225th nationally, 8th pro-style quarterback, number 2 in Connecticut. He had offers from, let me tell you, from, and we're going to read this here.
Go on.
Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Arizona, Syracuse, Ohio State, Penn State, Auburn, Miami, Ole Miss, page 2, Mizzou, Alabama, Florida State, and South Alabama.
Yeah,
pretty.
Oh,
pretty
of course.
Good there. That's all. Just wanted to get that out there. He is an underdog. He is undersized. I would like him to roll out of the pocket a little bit more and utilize that space so balls don't get batted down. But overall, he's a dude. And next year, I'm not looking forward to that quarterback competition because it is going to be one. I would hate to run a 2 quarterback system. We really want one guy to shine. So I don't know which way it goes. As of right now, Drew Pyne's my quarterback and Tommy Rees is my offensive coordinator.
Agreed. And then just to put things into perspective, as an all-time commit for Notre Dame, he is right in between Malik Zaire and Deshaun Kaiser. So Zaire was a 0.93, and for recruiting score on 247, and Deshaun Kaiser was a 0.9073. So, I mean, yeah, what I was more so saying is, in terms of that long shot, kind of come from behind underdog type of guy he is, he's lower on the list in terms of recruiting than Tyler Buckner. He's not in terms of like height, weight, all that sort of stuff. Buckner is 6'1", 6'2", more like a 6'1", whereas Drew Pyne plays as like a 5'10" guy. So there's definitely some advantages that Buckner inherently has had over the course of time, and that's ultimately why Buckner was the starter. But Pyne played his role. He every step of the way he just accepted everything that came, and he just said, "Hey, you know what? Like, my number might get called, and when it does, I'm going to be ready." And he's proven that. So just because he wasn't named the starter doesn't mean he was not incredibly talented, and that's what he's proving week in and week out. So absolutely a tip of the cap to Mr. Drew Pyne, because he deserves it.
I agree. Really, the other part that we want to talk about is what we saw out of the run game. Holy shit. Chris Tyree, Aldridge Man, Logan Diggs. Who do you stop? You stop one, you got two others. You put multiple running backs on the field, who are you going to play? Like, it was a masterclass by Tommy overall, just in terms of what he was calling. I really like the check with me's that he did. But you stop Aldridge May, you get Logan Diggs. You stop Logan Diggs, you get Chris Tyree. There's no right answer there. And 230 pounds should not be elevating as high as he did.
Animal, dude. He's so freakishly athletic.
And then you get Tyree, who wants to lay the wood too. Like, all three of them want to drop a shoulder. It's phenomenal.
These are some tough bastards. They're quick. They're strong. Stick a foot in the ground, make a cut, and move. I mean, Logan Diggs seems to be a little less hesitant to hit a hole. I think more before he was trying to be a little bit fancier, a little bit more, kind of on your toes, make a miss like that, the kind of that Le'Veon Bell stutter. And he still has it from time to time, but you saw him close out that game with a 30-something yard run, a 33-yard run. And he looked like he was shot out of a cannon, made one move and made the safety miss and looked like a fool. And he was already downfield, securing the first down and basically locking up the Irish victory. Estime, we all saw the magic that he had. And, Tyree only finished for 11 for 42. It looked like he got rolled up a little bit on. Maybe it looked like, potentially some turf toe. He was moving around, though. He did walk off the field. So that's something to monitor going forward. I think Tyree might not be at 100% for a week or two. But again, at the very least, we have two other guys that if Tyree's not going to be okay, they're going to be able to really step up and move the rock. And this offensive line was opening up gaps for them. And when they did, these guys took advantage and they ran hard all day long. So, I mean, just an unbelievable performance. And yes, a lot of it also comes back to the play calling to get those guys into positions of success.
Well said. Overall, defensively, we were without Howard Cross. He will be back this week. Tariq Bracy did pull up with a hamstring. He's questionable for Saturday. We possibly will see Jaden Smith play a little bit, or I'm sorry, Jaden Mickey, not Jaden Smith. That's Will Smith's son. Jaden Mickey at the nickel position. One last thing I want to say: Zach Yoakum, kickoff starter for Bryce McPherson. He's been phenomenal. He's probably the one that we don't talk about at all, and I think this is the third time I've said his name. If you look at just the raw body of work for Zach Yoakum this year, he puts the ball through the back of the end zone. He prevents the return. Like, just overall, he is doing very well doing what he has to do. So I just wanted to give him a quick little shout out here. I do think, just based off of some people who we've been speaking with, we really are the special teams podcast. I think all the special teamers may listen to us. So with that, shout out Zach. He's doing his job and more.
Special teamers are people too, and anytime you can just drop the ball on the 25-yard line with a touchback, keeps the dangerous plays out of the from happening. So I love it.
He's a freshman too. Like he has 4 years of this. So in theory, if we're going to really theorize here, he could very well be the kickoff starter for 4 years, allowing Bryce McPherson to use his turbo foot as the punter next year. So we're going from John Sott, Ray Guy Award winner, to Bryce McPherson, 4-time Ray Guy Award winner. Zach Yoakum's going to win some type of kicking award, even if I have to make it up myself. We are so... Brian Mason, never leave. Brian Mason, stay here forever. Overall, I just want to pull these stats up real quick. They don't have a ton of career kicking stats, but I can tell you he's booming the ball out of the back of the end zone. The stats show a bunch of zeros, but that doesn't matter because as long as the ball's going out of the back of the end zone, that's all we care about here.
Facts.
So, anything else about BYU? Overall, they're nice people, but that's all.
Jaron Hall is who we thought he was.
Yeah, maybe he has a bad shoulder, but he kind of stunk.
Yeah. I mean, 9 for 17, 120 yards. He did have two nice touchdown passes, but he also only had 9 yards at halftime with that interception. So maybe it was a bum shoulder, or maybe he was playing an extremely good defense, or maybe it's a combination of both. More
He had
likely
120 yards.
He had 120, yeah.
I'm not even. This isn't a bit right now. Like I am surprised.
And he had 120 yards passing, and he had a longest pass of the day was 53 yards. So that means he had 8 completions.
70
he had 8
yards
completions for like 70
yards?
something yards. Yeah.
Jesus, that's very surprising. That I am shocked right now that I learned that.
With the exception of the 2 broken touchdown passes, I mean, Notre Dame really kept him at bay all day. So, I mean, kind of the moral of the story, Notre Dame's got to finish. Kind of sick of giving up these garbage time touchdowns or touchdowns late in the third, early in the fourth that really kind of let the other team back into it. Because there was a moment in time, what was it, 25 to like, it was 25 something at some point.
It was 25-6, 8:05 left in the third quarter.
Yeah, exactly.
53-yard pass.
Exactly. Yeah, it was 25-6, and then they came back to kind of get back into it. When it was 25-6, I legitimately thought we were going to win that game, like, I don't know, 41-13. That's what it felt like. So, defense certainly clean it up. They're not, without even though they played very, very well. It's got to be a complete performance. So, would definitely love to see them kind of close the book at the end of each game now.
Agreed. Now, before we get into our mailbag, which is what we'll end our show with, let's talk about Stanford. Stanford, the Cardinal in white. They technically don't have a mascot, but they have that creepy-looking tree. Guess how many people Stanford has enrolled at their school?
44,000.
Nope. 17,249.
That's exactly what I said.
They've been established since 1891 in Stanford, California, by way of Palo Alto, I believe. They're in the Pac-12. They've won 2 national championships in 1926 and 1940. They're 13-21 versus Notre Dame. And the people, which is everyone's favorite part of our podcast, is when I tell you what alumni went there. The alumni, the most notable, Ted Danson, Rhode Island's own Adam West, both did not finish their time at Stanford. Reese Witherspoon dropped out. Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos fame dropped out. John McEnroe dropped out. Trader Joe Columbi, he didn't drop out. The co-founder of OkCupid and SparkNotes, and who do I want to use as the last one? Oh, Summer Sanders, former host of Nickelodeon game show Figure It Out. And that's what David Shaw has to do. 94-49. They're 1-4 on the year. Frankly, they're awful. So That is what I have to
Before
say.
we go any further, I have to add in Tiger Woods, and you were intentionally leaving him out to piss me off.
I was in Steve. How long have I been doing this for? I've intentionally left off very famous alumni each week. That's the joke. Like, I find these random ass humans. I go on the Wikipedia page 3 minutes before we log on, and I say, "All right, how am I going to annoy fan bases this week?" I've left off very famous people from these other schools.
Fair enough. Well, you trapped me in the troll, so I get it. But yeah, no,
wait, Steve. There was one more. It was the guy who designed the white sweatshirts, which are still on sale.
Oh,
Oh, we have fun here. I don't care about Stanford. I'm going to be real. Like, they suck.
Well, Notre Dame's opening up at 16.5-point favorites. Over under is 52.5. It might be a tasty over just because now Stanford puts up pretty comparable yards and points to Notre Dame on offense, but on defense, holy shit. They give up an average of 431.6 yards per game. They allow 224 yards through the air every game. They also allow 207 yards on the ground. Audric Estime might set the single game record for yards and touchdowns in this game.
They're 110th in total defense, 122nd in yards per play, 121st in rushing, 126th in yards per carry or catch, 61st in passing. So they do play a pretty good passing defense when you look at all these other numbers. And they're tied with Notre Dame for dead last in total turnovers. So that's not good. Their turnover margin is negative 2.2 per game and negative 11 on the year.
Yeah, I mean, they have played some difficult teams. You know, they lost 41-28 against USC. They lost 40-22 against Washington. They lost 45-27 against Oregon. But then they played Oregon State, and then they lost 28-27. So it's pretty much it seems pretty locked in. Notre Dame scoring at least 4 touchdowns, just like kind of deducing that out. I mean, knock on wood. I don't want to be the asshole to jinx it, but
we said this against Marshall too. Like this is how we talked again when they were going.
Don't ever say that name again. Nope. Don't do it.
All right, let's bring up what they did against Oregon State really quick. They should have won that game. Oregon State's 4-2. Stanford's 1-4. However, Oregon State this week is playing Washington State. It could have been a look-ahead game for them. So let's just call a spade there. It was 7-0 at the end of the first. Stanford was up. At the end of the second, they were up 17-7. They should have put the game away right there. Oregon State comes back. Stanford scores again, 24-10. And then they gave up almost 18 straight points. So overall, Oregon State 23 first downs. They went 40 for 192 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And in the air, 20 for 28, 250 and 2. So 442 total yards. They had 9 penalties for 90 yards. Like, Oregon State shouldn't have won this game. And Stanford couldn't put it away. So I don't know if they're going to be demoralized coming into this week. Overall, their offense is bad. They can't run the ball. They can't protect the quarterback. This is the week that you see Fosby get a couple more sacks to chase the record again. Tanner McKee is good, but they can't protect the quarterback and they can't run the ball. So I know I'm saying a lot of words there, but that's kind of where I'm at with them right now.
No, Tanner McKee, he has 10 touchdowns, 5 picks. So, he's averaging an interception a game. Noteworthy, again, for an ND team that needs to build some confidence and some swagger by getting their turnover ratio up. He has 1,250 yards through those 5 games. So I don't know whatever that calculates out to as an average, but they can move the ball downfield through the air. Now, obviously, thank God our pass defense happens to be the strength of this team, and we have a great pass rush as well. So I just what I would like to see, clearly in this game we are favored and should win. if we put in the performance that we're looking to. But what I think I'm going to be looking more for than anything is, can you not give up those big plays and those big passing touchdowns, or can you not give up the big 3rd and long in games like this? Can you just slam the door? Can you just dominate and just completely destroy this team inside and out? They're a rival. I like Stanford, but I also don't like Stanford. Like, I want to win this game 45-0, or more accurately 53-0, just to cover the spread, or to go with the over. But yeah, I mean, it's just we should come out on top here. But I think this is going to be an excellent test, because that if we are leading, Tanner McKee is just going to be firing pills downfield, because that's the only chance that they stand. So basically put an exclamation point at the end of this game and knock this Stanford team just back another decade, because I'm sick of seeing Stanford compete with Notre Dame. They're a good program, good for them. They've been down the last couple of years, but just stomp them out and don't let them smell blood.
Let me see Steve Angeli play the entire 4th quarter.
That'd be great.
All. Angeli, Merriweather, Sneed, Spindler, let them all play.
Yeah. Speaking of Sneed, do you want to address the linebackers at all, or no?
I thought we were going to do that in the mailbag.
That's what I said.
So that's what we'll do there. Really, keys for the game: run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. When you get tired of running the ball, run the ball again. Get them on the run and keep them on the run, and don't stop until the defense comes up too close.
Fair.
Thank you, New Rockney. That should be the game plan, Tommy. Really, that's why I have, we outline Stanford. I think Notre Dame wins handedly. Prediction for the game, offhand, 48-9, 3 field goals by Stanford.
44-14, Notre Dame.
Michael Wilson is terrifying out of all the receivers. If you keep him from doing the same, bracket him with your best defensive back, we'll be just fine.
Yeah.
So that is what we have on Stanford. We're both expecting to win, but we have a mailbag. Let me tell you, our mentions are a dumpster fire right now. It's almost as if I got into a war with USC fans today. Before we begin the mailbag, shout out Big Al. Big Al has become a legend. So Abigail, or Big Al, I guess you're listening to this right now as well. Shout out. Fan of the week. And, I'll do it, Steve, if you agree. He's the Horseman of the week.
I'll co-sign that for sure.
Big Al. Only reason we're on iHeartRadio right now. Al, you might be the only iHeart listener we get, but for that, we thank you. So let's see here. They're saying that Duke's Mayo Bowl could be a spot for Notre Dame. I hope so. Just for myself, I love Duke's Mayo, the best mayo in the game. They could be playing in the Cheez-It Bowl versus Texas, or the Gator Bowl versus Florida right now.
But none of those are a New Year's Six bowl, so I don't understand why would we. So that I don't get it.
I'm just saying those are the bowls that, as of right now, if everything were to end today, that's what they're saying.
I guess, but I don't know. I just tend to think that, once again, the national media talking heads just quite simply never appreciate or properly rate Notre Dame. So yeah, you can put us in the Idaho famous potato bowl if you want to in October, and then in December, when we've had yet another 10-win season for the 6 in a row at least, then we're going to be back here to say, we told you so. This is a good program. We're not going away, and go screw yourself, because we're going to the New Year's Six. So that's kind of just my general, put one near their ear hole towards the national media.
Agreed. So the first question we have, seems like the Marshall Plan was pretty effective, no? We are not a World War II podcast, but yes, the Economic Recovery Act of 1948 was pretty successful overall at the end of World War II.
The only thing that I disagreed with at that point with the Marshall Plan was the biggest mistake we did make was not actually walking or marching on Moscow, in my opinion. But
hey,
Love-
Goldrust, get out of our mentions. If you want to talk about that, we'll troll you all day. I don't care. And look, we got a little bit of history in there.
Yeah.
A lot of USC fans being mad at us. I'm sorry, I'm ruining this segment here, but we have a lot of just angry.
No, it's the USC fans ruining everything. Who would have thought?
Okay, Tim Flynn says, "What trick play will Stanford try, and how badly will it fail?" Did they try a trick play last week? Is that why he's asking? Did you watch the Stanford game?
I can confidently say I've never watched a Stanford game non-Notre Dame in my entire life. So, yeah, I think Tim is just assuming that they know that their backs are they're basically, they're hogs headed for slaughter, so they might as well try some sort of trickery to try to get out of it, I think is the point he's making. So it's going to be a punt, a fake punt, and it's going to fall incomplete, or it's going to be a complete disaster.
It's going to be a hook and ladder. The old hook and ladder play. And
love it.
It won't work. Yimmy, he's asked this question 3 times, so we have to answer it. If you're ND, are you trying to flip a 2023 QB commit, or are you dropping the bag at a transfer? Love Pyne, but we no doubt need to add another high ceiling type player at the position. I'm not talking a cone type. Rude. Need someone better than Tyler Buckner in the room pushing things. I don't know.
Yeah. They are going after Kenny Minchie, aren't they? And then also Avery Johnson from K-State. So there's two pretty top-end guys that they're trying to get for 23. CJ Carr is the 24 guy that could potentially reclassify for 23. He still hasn't made up his mind on that. So they're kicking the tires in the recruiting game for sure. And there's 2 guys with a lot of upside, and they're doing their due diligence. They may or may not get a 23 QB. If they don't, I don't honestly think it's the end of the world. I would have told you it's the end of the world coming into this year, but now seeing the emergence of Pyne and knowing that we're going to get a Pyne Buckner QB battle next year, and again that's going to just improve everything as a whole. I think we're actually going to be positioned way better than ever before at the QB position for the next couple of years.
So there is one name, composite 4-star from Boise State, Hank Buckmeyer from California. He entered the transfer portal on September 27th. He had offers from Georgia, Oregon State, Tennessee, obviously Boise State, Minnesota, Colorado, Cal, Ole Miss, UNLV, Utah, UCLA. He did it unofficial at Notre Dame about 6 years ago, Arizona and Colorado. So he could be a guy that you could see potentially Notre Dame taking a glance at. I don't really agree with the not Jack Cohn statement that was made by Yimmy. Overall, I think Jack Cohn was serviceable for what we needed last year. Did he stunt Buckner's growth or Pyne's growth? Maybe. But you get Buckmeyer in. He's 23 right now. He'll be 24 next year. You need that type of, I don't want to say not elderly, age in the locker room. Overall, he's a pretty good human in terms of being a quarterback. 497 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions this year. But overall, when you look at him for his career, 2021, he had 3,079 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. 2020, 1,100 yards, and 2019, 1,800 yards. So I think that could be someone that Tommy could look at. I don't think they'll get him, but you could definitely look at him.
Yeah, it's again, you do your due diligence. you check in on the guys and just check their pulse, see where they're at. Maybe you pull something, maybe you don't, but I think we're gonna be okay no matter what.
Following up on that, is James Laurinaitis to blame for the bad linebacker play, or is Golden the one to blame? Which linebackers should be starting or at least getting more snaps? Good question. I don't think Al Golden's to blame. I like Al Golden's defense. He needs to stop blitzing safeties from high. He just has to stop doing that.
He's been a little bit on the aggressive side, kind of leaving some of his guys on an island from time to time. But yeah, I definitely do like Golden's defense. Listen, Maris Liufau, Coach Freeman called him out by name and said he has to play better. They expect better from him. He's coming off, what wasn't it, Achilles from last year that he blew out?
I believe so, yes.
So it's, that's a plant cut, powerful muscle, where you're sticking your foot in the ground when you're looking to get running backs basically and get guys in open.
Dislocated.
Sorry?
Dislocated.
Oh, dislocated. Okay. But yeah, that's so even if with a dislocated ankle, if it doesn't, it could just be a little bit wonky in terms of healing and getting used to that and learning to play on that again. So maybe he's lost a half a step. Maybe he's second guessing himself or lost a little bit of confidence. He still makes some good plays, but he's been inconsistent. And I think that might be kind of just losing out on a year of really developing, just from injury. So I still think he's a talented guy, and I think he has the potential to step it up. But if not, there's definitely guys in the room that would be able to come after him. Prince Collie, welcome to the show. When the light's shining the brightest, Prince Collie with his first career sack. JD Bertrand, he takes some aggressive lines, coming downhill, and sometimes he'll miss. But he also ends up with like 14 tackles a game somehow. So we know what we get from Bertrand. The linebacker position for the future is very bright, but that, has no bearing on the here and now. The here and now, I would say, listen, this is the group that you have. If you wanted to try and sub in some guys and get some different packages, see if one of the younger guys like Collie or Jalen Sneed might pop with their talent and really show that they're the one that belongs on the field, then sure. But yet again, you have to trust the depth chart because the coaches have spent hours and hours and hours with these guys every single day for months on end. They know who is going to be the best guy for the job. If the best guy for the job it needs to be on the field, he will be. Benjamin Morrison, true freshman, took over as the starting cornerback. They're not afraid to put guys on the field that they know are going to produce. So there might be a reason you're not seeing some of the younger linebackers because they might just not be ready yet. So what do? I don't know. Maybe it's scheme. Maybe it's mentality. Maybe I don't know what it is. But, they're still playing pretty damn good. This defense is playing pretty damn good. There's just there's maybe 5 or 6 plays a game where they just they don't lock it down 100%, and they got to limit that to maybe 1 or 2 plays a game, and that's when they become truly elite.
Agreed. I would definitely agree on all of that. And really the other thing that annoys me, it's circling back here, it's the vocal minority. Oh, don't play JD Bertrand. Don't play him. He is not good. He overrun. Since when were you a coach? If you're a coach and you want to break down film and say that he's not a good player, do it. If not, shut up. So many of these people, I know everyone says, oh, armchair quarterbacks, and we kind of are as well because, we're not coaching on Saturdays. But, personally, I come from a coaching background. I don't think JD Bertrand's that bad. Does he get himself into positions, like you said before, a little bit wild? Yes. Is that detrimental sometimes? Yes. Are we the ones in the film room with him? Are we the ones in meetings with Freeman? No. So shut up. Let the coaches make the decision. Fans are fans for a reason. If you want to wear the polo, get a job, diagnose the plays then. Until then, you don't have a say. You don't know better than the coaches do.
Yep. I wholeheartedly endorse that.
It's just frustrating. That's what it breaks down to. From there, we have one more question. Shout out to Lamar Mickey, Jaden Mickey's father. He laughed at one of our tweets just a moment ago. Because if anyone's mean to any of the parents of any of our Notre Dame football players, we will fight you verbally with words.
For sure. No, we are absolutely the parents podcast, as it
We are
turns
the
out.
parents pod. Let me know who we need to go after, and we will go after them for you. Let's see here. Great statistical work. I did some numbers today, Steve. And finally, the last question here. We didn't touch on James Laurinaitis. He's not doing anything for the linebackers. He's a grad assistant. He's going to do stuff down the line, but I don't think he has anything to do with their play. He was a good linebacker when he played. Last question here. Results for the rest of the season. I like that question, and that's what we can end on. Notre Dame has a game against Stanford, which we mark as a win. They're going to UNLV game, also at home, but on Peacock. Reminder, by Peacock. Then they have Syracuse, a game I will be at, and I am undefeated at games I'm at. Clemson, Boston College, Navy, and USC. Did I miss any?
No, you did not.
What is Notre Dame's record on the Sunday after Thanksgiving?
Okay, 4-2, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2, 8-2, 9-2, and if my math, 10-2, 10-2. So that's what I've been saying since after we lost against Marshall. So carry the 2, add the 1. Yep. No, yeah, 10-2. I'm gonna continue to say it because this is a 10-2 football team. This is an 11-1 football team. Quite frankly, this was potentially a 12-0 football team. It's just we had a little bit of bad luck. So, hey, a great football team. We're going to win out because we can.
Agreed. That's the question right there. Stanford's a winnable game. UNLV is a winnable game. Syracuse, you have me going to the game. That is understated. I've never lost a game. I went to a game during the Tyrone Willingham era. It was Navy, but still didn't lose that game.
That's impressive.
I've never lost a game I've been at. Don't forget that. I hope the Vegas handicappers remember that. I've never lost a game that I've been in attendance at. So, that's what we got for this week. Mailbag. I know we sprung on you Monday episode, Columbus Day episode. So, happy Columbus Day, Steve. Dylan, happy Canadian Thanksgiving as well. I don't have any holidays to celebrate right now except for Victory Monday. And hopefully next week.
Aren't you Italian?
Half. So whatever.
All right. Well, happy half Columbus Day to you then.
I got the first 12 hours of the day.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for my Columbus Day well wishes. He was a great man, and he was completely misunderstood and maligned and blacklisted by history. But if you actually read, then you'll understand he was great. But we're not going to get into that.
Anyway, we have Stanford this week.
So we're going to continue to move on.
Each week, I just interrupt Steve when he goes on these pro-Italian rhetorics here. So 7:30, Stanford. We're playing the Cardinal.
From being pro-Italian on the podcast.
This has been a weird recording episode. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm going to go try to find a deli.
Listeners, courtesy reminders to the listeners, it is a 7:30 p.m. kickoff this Saturday.
7:30 p.m. on NBC. We only have another couple weeks of Jack Collinsworth and Jason Garrett. Let's get through it together. And yeah, that's all I got for this week. Steve, any last parting words?
Nope. Go Irish, beat Cardinals.
Wear ESQ, play Fliff, put up with our SGG postings that we put up there. Eat Duke's Mayo, and go Irish, beat Cardinal.